Working with Maven Archetypes in IntelliJ has a couple of different snags in it, but it's not that hard, and I really like the IntelliJ editor for Maven projects, and I really like the Maven Archetypes, so I just wanted to run through exactly how to manage your Maven Archetypes in IntelliJ to make it easier. Basically, if you're not aware, a Maven Archetype is a template of a project. It's someone who has done all the setup for you and given you this bare bones empty project so that you can hit the ground running and get right to writing code, and you don't have to fiddle with your POM file or any of your dependencies or plugins or anything like that. You can really easily access them when you create a project and you select Maven, and then you can click create from archetype and then click the archetype you want. Now there are a couple of archetypes that mention Scala. That's the one that I'm looking to add to my archetypes right now. You can see one here, but we have another one down here called Scala Archetype Simple. And you might think that that would be the best one to use if you're just looking for a bare bones Scala project. However, as it turns out, at least at the time of recording and when in my experimentation and for my purposes, that's actually not been the case. There's been a different archetype not included in the list here that we want to use for Scala projects, and that's what I mainly use IntelliJ for, is for Scala. The first thing is I'm going to need to install the Scala plugin, which has already been done during my install. It prompts you if you would like to install it. You can install it as a plugin from the, I think you could maybe do it from the menu here. I'm not sure, but it's not that hard. You can install it, look it up, how to install it. Then once you have that installed, you will have the option to create a Scala project with SBT. However, again, just for my purposes, I would like to use Maven, and so let's go ahead and add in the archetype by hitting add archetype. And I'm just going to copy and paste this from my notepad here, but it's the Scala Archetype Simple, but it's a different artifact from a different group, and we're going to, by doing this, we're going to actually be pulling this archetype from the Maven Central repository, I believe. And you should probably maybe look online. You should look for this this particular group ID and artifact ID to figure out if there's a newer version by the time you're watching this. But I'm not going to fill in the repository. I'm just going to fill in these three things, and I'm going to hit OK. It's added itself to the list, and we can go ahead and hit next and then begin the project creation, defining our own group and artifact ID and all that other stuff. And there actually, for this particular archetype, there are some other steps that you need to do to get it to work. The project that it comes out with is maybe not exactly what you want initially. That's going to be the next video, but for this video, I just want to describe how to add the archetype. And in fact, there's more to it than that, because if you're as clumsy as I am, you will maybe fiddle around and make some typos when you're adding artifacts, or add the wrong one or something like that. I was even kind of crazy enough to actually go through this process twice, but once I tried to add, I thought I had to add the repository, and that ended up messing with it. And then there were two things with the same name, and I couldn't distinguish which was which, and it was a whole thing. So I needed to figure out how to remove them, and that's the kind of non-obvious part. We've really easily added the archetype here, but unfortunately in IntelliJ there's no easy way to just, remove it. Right-clicking does nothing, and that's what I want to show you how to do next. We need to try to find the user-archetypes.xml file. So you can find that in a number of ways. On Windows here, basically I'm looking in my user directory for the .idea I, and then C for Community Edition, and the year and whatever, and the version that I'm using. In the description there's a link to a Stack Overflow post that shows you on Mac and Linux where you should be looking. But we're going to go in the Systems folder, the Maven folder, the Indices folder, and there we have it. There's our user archetypes. Maybe you could search for that file if you have like a search tool on your computer, but let's open it up in Sublime real quick, and you can see that it is just an XML file that has listed the archetypes that it's going to pull from the repository. If we want to remove this archetype, which I guess I will do. I don't want to remove it, but for the sake of the video, I will. I'm just going to remove that line, and maybe you've added more, so maybe there are other lines in here, and just save it and close it. And we'll go to IntelliJ. It's still there, but if we go ahead and close out of IntelliJ and open it up again, we'll see that when we go to create a project, it won't be there anymore. And that is what you have to do in order to remove the archetype. If you've sort of mistakenly added one, or maybe added two by the same name, and you're having trouble distinguishing them, as you can see, it's not there anymore. So that's that. It's a little unfortunate that there isn't some way to remove them from right inside of this window, but we can easily work around it as long as we know where to find that file. And now hopefully you know where to find that file, so you should be totally able to manage your own archetypes, and it's very convenient. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.